All right guys, Amsoil Adam here. In today's video, we're gonna show you the process that it takes to install the Love Jugs frame mounting kit on a 2008 through 2016 touring model. It seems a lot of people have questions on how to do this, and the instructions sometimes are a little bit difficult to read. So I'm gonna show you the way I do it so that it makes it easier for you. All right guys, so the bike we're gonna be working on today, I believe is a 2012 Harley-Davidson Tri-Glide, and this is a perfect candidate for the frame mounting kit. The frame mounting kit is designed to relocate the physical mounting system so that it reduces the amount of vibration being transferred from the engine into the fan and horn assembly. From the factory, Harley-Davidson has this bracket right here that the horn hangs on. As you can see, this bracket is bolted directly to your engine, front cylinder head, rear cylinder head, and this is where the horn hangs. The horn is rubber mounted, and this allows the horn to shake with the engine when the engine is running. Vibration can damage the assemblies over time. In fact, Harleys are known for this chrome bracket right here just cracking because of the shake. It fatigues the metal. So we offer reinforcements for that, as well as changing the way it is mounted. So the kit we're going to put on here will mount it to the frame instead of the engine. Now you also notice that I've already got the fuel tank removed from the motorcycle. And no, I'm not going to show you how to do that, but there's 4 bolts, 2 up front on the sides, 2 in the back underneath the very front of the seat. Those 4 bolts have to come out, and you have to disconnect your fuel line, which is just a quick connect. Other than that, I leave everything attached to the fuel tank. I protect the back of the motorcycle with a blanket, and I just pick the fuel tank straight up, I spin it 180 degrees and set it back down. As you can see, all of the hoses and wiring are still intact. The only thing I disconnected was the fuel line and the 4 bolts that hold it on. So again, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on how that's done. You do have to remove the seat first and then the fuel tank, and if you can't get that part done, you probably shouldn't be doing the Love Jug install yourself. All right guys, so at this point we're going to take off the horn, which is only the single nut here at the top, and the whole horn assembly will come off. You want to save the nut and the washer because you will reuse it. At that point the horn just comes off, and there's a keeper on the back that holds the wire in place. And then just unplug the 2 horn wires. Sometimes it can be a little tight, and then set the horn down. You will reuse that entire assembly later on. All right, now we're going to remove the horn bracket from the engine. There's 2 9/16 bolts on the top. I like to use a wrench just to break them loose first, because sometimes they're quite tight. Save the bolts. At that point, the bracket should just come right off. You will discard the bracket. You will not use it. Then I like to put the bolts back in the head, just so you don't have empty holes in the top of the head collecting trash. At this point, I like to remove the spark plug wire to the front cylinder and just get it out of the way. Just comes undone and let it dangle. That way it's not in the way when you're trying to put the frame mounting kit on. Okay, at this point we're ready to unbox the frame mounting kit, and you have 5 main components in the frame mounting kit. So the first is what we call the A bracket. Looks like this. This is the bracket that is actually going to mount below the frame. Right, guys, and then you have the B bracket. This bracket will attach to the A bracket once it is fastened securely to the frame. Now you notice the one I have has got the curves in it. This one's actually designed for the water-cooled motorcycles, but it will work on all 2008 through 2016 touring models. So Road Glides, Street Glides, Road Kings, Tri-Glides, so on and so forth. You do not need a frame mounting kit if you're working with a Dyna or a Sportster or a Softail. Now the normal FMK, not the WC FMK that this is, will also work on 2008 through 2016 touring models, but not with the water-cooled heads. If you have water-cooled heads, you must have the WC FMK. Now, however, it will work even without water-cooled heads, so it's kind of more of a universal. All right, the next item is going to be the grade 8 nut, bolt, and washer assembly. This is what holds the A bracket and the B bracket securely together. And then you have 2 of the band clamps. Now these aren't just ordinary band clamps. You'll see they're actually engraved with the Love Jugs logo on them. These are a lot stronger than a 3-inch band clamp that you can buy at like a Napa or something. We made them much thicker, and you can even see here, everything's tack welded together to give them a longer life expectancy and just more strength in general. All right guys, so now we're going to start the installation of the frame mounting kit onto the motorcycle. The first thing is you want both of your band clamps. You want to get them put into place. Now I am standing on the right side of the motorcycle. This is the orientation I'm holding the band clamp so that it's curved down, and the screw, the worm drive, is towards me, and I just slide it up underneath the wire chase. So right here is the wire chase. You can see where it comes down over the engine. Band clamp, just slide it underneath, one right behind the wire chase. And look at the orientation the way I have this here. And then the second one goes just in front of it in the same exact orientation. Just like that. Now the A bracket is going to mount under the frame just like so. But to put it on, what makes it easier is flip it upside down, right? With the rounded edge facing the rear of the motorcycle. All right guys, like I said, the A bracket, put it on your hose clamps, upside down, and work it up. You want to route the hose clamp underneath the frame, and I use this little tool here to guide the other end in to get the clamp started. All right, once you got both band clamps started, then you can just rotate this down underneath the frame and then push the worm drive down to be directly beneath the A bracket. All right, so now you can see the worm drives are directly underneath. We can still access them. This is the way it'll look from the left side of the motorcycle. Now all you do is tighten up the clamps and shape them. Now as you can see, I've snugged them down a little bit, but they're not all the way tight yet. So you want to make sure that you don't clamp down on top of this black plastic piece here. So I just use like a little pry tool. Just get in there and pop it out like so it doesn't pinch it. And then snug them up the rest of the way. Now note that while I was installing those, I went back and forth from one to the other. I didn't tighten one all the way down and then do the other one. Kind of staged a little bit, and they're still not really tight. You do not want to over tighten these because you will strip out the worm drive. You just want to get them snug. But now we got to shape it, which is a very important step that a lot of people tend to skip, but it's really important to do this part. So as you can see, there's still a little bit of a curve to that. It doesn't conform to the square frame right away. Same thing over here. You can also see the frame mounting kit is not squared and centered yet, so we're going to make some adjustments here. All right, so the tools that I use here, it's a double-sided plastic hammer, and I'm still using that extension with the socket on it. And basically I'll just put that socket right there. I'll use the hammer to tap it to where I want to get it in place. Now that I've got that centered, I'm just going to come back by hand and snug up these connections a little bit more. I'm still not getting them super tight just yet. I'm just snugging them. Now you'll see they've taken a little bit better shape, but they need a little bit more. That's where I'll use the plastic side of this hammer and just tap them. Sides. You'll see that helps get it to conform to the frame a lot better. Okay, after that, just one more little quick snug on the worm drives. Remember, do not over tighten them. And then the frame mount kit is securely fastened to the frame. Now we're just gonna hide the tails to the band clamps and move on to installing the B bracket. All right, now to hide those tails, again, I take the pry tool and I just lean it on here just to push this aside and get those to pop up behind it. And do that on both sides. So now both of the tails are behind the wire harness chase. And I'll take a zip tie and run it through the whole assembly. And that'll keep them from popping out. All right guys, so now we're gonna take our grade 8 bolt and the B bracket. We're gonna move in here to the assembly. I put the bolt in from the right side of the motorcycle. Put it through the hole. Then I hang the B bracket on there. If you get it just right, it'll balance there for a moment while you install the washer and the nut. So now we're just going to snug down that bolt assembly, but we're not going to tighten it all the way up. We want to be able to move it and adjust it just a little bit to get everything centered and straight. Okay, so now I've just got it tight enough where I can still move it, but it will stay where I put it when I move it. So I'm looking back, I want to get it centered between the two cylinders the best I can. I want to make sure that it's high enough that back in here, it's not rubbing against the temperature sensor, and low enough that it's not up against the fuel line. So just take your time here. This is very important to get this in just the right spot. All right, when you get it centered in the way you want it, double check, make sure that you've got the clearance down here so it's not rubbing on your temperature sensor. Make sure you get at least a finger's worth underneath it. It may be laying on, or the fuel line may lay on it a little bit here, but keep in mind when the tank's on, the fuel line will come up. You see there's adequate clearance there where it's not touching. Also want to pay attention to this back area here. Make sure you've got at least 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch between the rocker box cover and the frame mount kit. Because remember, this engine is going to move when it's running, so you don't want it to hit at any point during its movement. Once you're happy with it, snug it all down, and then you want to center up your Love Jugs logo here, and there are 3 set screws on the bottom to tighten that and lock it into place. Now before snugging down this piece, this is adjustable. You can move it in and out. Most times I will leave it all the way back or just bring it out about 1/4 of an inch if you think you're going to have any type of clearance issue. But it doesn't need to come out real far. Then make sure it's centered and snug up the set screws. Alright guys, that's it for installing the frame mounted kit. Once this part is done, the installation of the Love Jugs is exactly the same as it would be if you were not using a frame mounted kit. So all that's left here is to install the Love Jugs and go ahead and reinstall the fuel tank and the seat, and you're ready to ride.